Welcome to Raiders Roundtable, presented by America First Credit Union. I'm JT. That's the legendary cornerback, Eric Allen. What a win for the Silver and Black.
Oh, my goodness.
The Raiders shocked the world. They shocked NFL media, everybody, and especially those Baltimore home fans that didn't think that would be a contest.
Yeah, for sure. And when we win, we get nice gear, JT.
Yeah,
so
look at you.
Get the win, get the good gear coming in. But what an exciting performance by our Raiders today. Both sides of the ball, just incredible. Guys going back after a very difficult loss in Los Angeles against the Chargers, where everyone thought, hey, man, this is going to be an opportunity to start off 1-0. But what a great job by the coaching staff, finding ways to get this football team to buy in. 4 quarters, all 3 phases. You hear Coach AB talk about it all the time. It really is about who's the last guy standing, understanding that you can lean on that defense, you can lean on that special teams, and get that offense to kind of come around. So really happy for this football team. Yes, we do have a victory Monday.
Yeah, we got 3 big things with EA. That's what I like about that. And we're going to jump in and take a look at the 3 big things. I want to start off with Gardner Minshew, Davante, and Bowers. Those big 3, they had a hell of a game, and especially the second half of the game where they completely dominated and took control.
Yeah, it didn't start off great, but I tell you what, after halftime and after that, kind of chest bump moment with Max Crosby, I think the offense kind of found their groove, really found a way to get it done. First, Gardner Minshew doing a really good job of doing Gardner Minshew things outside the pocket, and he was able to get outside the pocket because I think the offensive coordinator helped with allowing that defensive line, making sure they were just rushing with 4. So now you can find some area to be able to work like this, right? The young guy, Brock Bowers, coming back to the football. He was targeted 9 times, JT, yesterday, caught all 9 balls. Not necessarily what we expected from a young guy. Look at this. Late eyes, late hands, even though there was great coverage, I thought, man, this guy has just really separated himself from other receivers based on what he does on the football field. I mean, that toe tap, that drag on the sideline, I'm not sure if you're going to see a catch like that in the next season or so. He just continues to prove that he's the kind of guy who's capable of making those plays outside the lines of the football field. And then we talk about Brock Bowers and how a young player can come lining up all over the football field, needs to find a way to get open off of great press coverage by that secondary. The Baltimore Ravens secondary, one of the best in the National Football League, he was able to make play after play after play and just really gave his quarterback an ability to find him when he was desperate in need of someone to make a big play. So Gardner Minshew doing Gardner Minshew things. Antonio Pierce really loves the fact that he has a receiver in Davante Adams, a tight end in Brock Bowers who can make plays over and over again. Just really excited about this offense the second half.
I want to give a lot of credit to Luke Getsy. Imagine the pressure on him and the halftime adjustments that he made. I mean, we needed to open up the offense, and the Raiders were able to do that. When I met Brock Bowers for the first time with his mom and dad, quick story, he was quiet. He could barely talk. He was quiet. Now he's in the locker room screaming Raiders. He's pointing first down. I thought that was a big Raider moment for him. He's the all-time in the history of this sport, most receptions in the first 2 games ever by a rookie. And how about Luke Getsy understanding when we were in Costa Mesa and here in Henderson, get him the ball. We're not going to wait till week 6, week 10 for him to find a rhythm. So it was Tay and Brock, and they dominated the game, and we need to see more of that.
Yeah, think about the training camp. And he started off fast, quick, but he didn't practice a lot towards the end of training camp, JT. I'm not sure if many people know that, but he didn't get a lot of time. So he had to, mentally stay on top of it. But to throw this young man into the National Football League against the Chargers, who have an amazing defense, and then the Baltimore Ravens, who we all expect to be there at the end of this season, and him to be so productive is a little surprising, to be honest with you. I think people talk about, man, why did you go with him, the 13th pick in the first round? I think all those questions have been answered. This young man has really proven that he's a capable number 2 receiver for our football team. Anywhere else, he could be a number 1 guy. And just love the fact that this football team and Luke Getsy has found ways to get him involved. And if we can continue to have this 1-2 punch, man, look out for the rest of the National Football League.
It is a 1-2 punch, and for Bowers, he was the best player available when the Raiders picked. He might have been the best player available once they got to the 5th, 6th pick in the draft.
Yeah, you're
so that
right.
was a gift for the Raiders there. I want to get into the defense. The defense was incredible. They played really well against the Chargers, other than a couple explosive runs late in that game, and they came ready to play, led by Max Crosby.
Yeah.
He was a beast right out of the gate here, and Max showed a lot of emotion in this game. Spillane played really well, and Jacorian Bennett was sticky there in coverage there. Let's get big picture how this defense showed up and were emotionally ready to play.
Right. I think first start off with Max. I think Max is the type of player, he understands the big lights. He knows who he's playing against. He knows the cameras, the focus is going to be on his football team playing, the last year's MVP and Lamar Jackson. Let's give some credit also to Patrick Graham lining up Max in different spots, getting some stunts. You see there, Christian celebrating with him. And JB is really changed the way that you have to target this football team. Now that you have an opposite corner playing really lockdown type of defense, just really gives you an opportunity, if you're the defensive coordinator, to run a little more man-to-man stuff and focus on the box a little bit more. And Spillane, man, what a great linebacker he has become, with the ability to be able to make plays. 10 tackles yesterday, had a pass broken up. Really smart player. I love Spillane's attitude. And we were talking yesterday when we were watching the game, rarely do you see him make a tackle when he's not the dominant part. He's not falling down. He's standing guys up, taking on double teams, making plays. You just kind of love his attitude and how he plays. I think Max, first of all, is the bell cow of this football team. Started off the game, I think, with a tackle for a loss, kind of timed the snap up, so you know that he's an intelligent football player. He's studying film. He understands kind of what's happening. That's why he's able to get off on the ball so fast, even without an opposing edge guy like Crosby or a guy, Jacoby. He's able to find ways to make plays all up and down the line of scrimmage. Just love the way Max plays. JB's playing at a high level, and then Spillane really taking it to another level also.
You made a really good point about Max. When it comes down to the end of the year, Defensive Player of the Year, it's going to be Chris Jones, it's going to be T.J. Watt, period.
That's right.
And maybe Myles Garrett, who we're going to see here. They better show that B-roll, those sacks, and what he did against the MVP. You said he's the MVP, the reigning MVP, and Max outplayed him, and Max has got some highlights against arguably the best player in football, in Mahomes.
That's so important, JT.
Yeah.
I mean, because, you're compared with the greats of this game. And if you want to be a great, you have to perform in those situations.
Absolutely.
All day yesterday, all we saw was, the Ravens game and how they were supposed to kind of, wipe the floor with us early. Late, all you saw was Max making plays on television, just letting the NFL know that he's a dominant player. And I think that he's going to continue this type of play. Love his leadership. Everyone's going to follow. And I think right now, when we look at Max Crosby, one of the most dominant defensive players in our league.
Antonio Pierce deserves a lot of credit. He went up against John Harbaugh, who's won a Super Bowl, and he outcoached him. Flat out, he outcoached him. Adjustments, halftime, no debate. Clock management and, making big decisions with the clock, no debate. Harbaugh made some mistakes with the challenges, didn't have timeouts late. That's an important moment for Antonio Pierce, who's been fairly criticized as a young coach for, clock at times, timeouts, what are you going to do here or there? That was a big moment for him. He had a great coaching game, and his staff, Luke Getsy with halftime adjustments, and then Patrick Graham quietly doing what he does. That was a big win for the coaches in that game plan all week.
Big. And I think there was some noise coming out of the Charger game, obviously, with not going for it on fourth down. But as a defensive coach, you want to lean on your special teams. You want to lean your defense. So I have no problem, no issues with that. But you have to go from west to east. We haven't been very successful making that journey. I think since 2000, we've been, the worst football team in winning percentage going east. So you have the ability to show that you can bounce back after a tough loss. You have some adversity in the football game, in the Baltimore Ravens football game. You're able to adjust coming out after halftime. only 3 penalties. Where you have a team that had 11 days rest, they have 11 penalties. All the decisions that were made as far as Baltimore is concerned, when you talk about the challenges, I think Antonio Pierce did an amazing job against the Baltimore Ravens as far as coaching is concerned. Then you look at the 2 coordinators, you know at halftime, you make some adjustments, and offensively, you saw the formation change, you saw them throw the ball, get to a situation where they made the Baltimore Ravens go to a 4-down linemen who are rushing, so that gave your quarterback opportunities to find those holes, those creases, and making those plays, when the play breaks down outside the pocket, doing what he does best, and defensively just making sure that you were able to not allow Lamar Jackson, one of the best players in the National Football League, the history of the National Football League at quarterback, really dominate the game. Until that last run, he really didn't dominate the game like an MVP should. So hats off to both coaches, coordinators, and AP just did a fantastic job taking that team back east and winning that football game.
Rich Gannon's going to join us in a little bit, but I want to get to one big point in this game. 12 minutes, 10 seconds to go, the final 3 possessions, and we'll dive into that coming up.
Yeah.
The Raiders played with poise. You're down 10. A lot of people, especially in the NFL media, the game's over. Turn it off. Yeah. Baltimore is up 10. That game's over. Let's move on and watch another game.
Right.
And the Raiders down 10, score 13 and win that game. You don't do that without adjustments, coaching, the will to win, pride and poise, and the ability to have Gardner Minshew, as you mentioned, in the second half, a different quarterback, playing with freedom. Maybe that Max decision to go up to him made a difference where everything just opened up better in the final 12 minutes of the game.
Yeah, that's a great point, JT. And we've seen a lot of football together. You've seen a lot of Raiders football games. I think that was a really big point where Max goes up to him and says, hey, man, I have your back. And that happens, occasionally, not with the quarterback, but that happens occasionally. Hey, I got your back. More importantly is the effect that Max had after that moment. He really took it to a new level to show Gardner, yes, not only in words do I have your back, but I have it in meaning. So that was a huge point. More importantly, when we talk about the adjustments that were made, the players that had to step up, the formations, and one point that you always talk about, JT, is urgency, right? Urgency. You don't want to see the team kind of plodding up to the line of scrimmage and wasting time. I thought that after halftime, they had some urgency about them and went about getting to the line of scrimmage, understanding, listen, we're going to get the ball out of our hands fast. We're going to find a receiver. We're going to target that guy. He's going to make a catch. We're going to have some difficult situations. We're going to be able to overcome those situations. So Antonio Pierce probably talked about a lot of, hey, 4 quarters of football, not 2. So we have opportunities. We have time to make plays. 3 areas of football, special teams, defense, and offense. We still can win this football game with focusing on those things. You talk about the pride, the poise that we had, the 3 penalties opposed to 11 penalties. All those things are Raider football. Uncharacteristically, though, the penalties, I think, really gives us an opportunity to be able to make those plays and end the games. When they have penalties, gives us extra opportunities to maybe line up with the short situations. So all 3 phases, 4 quarters of football, coaching staff, that was an outstanding Raider win.
We're going to have a big week.
Yes, we're going to have a huge week.
That's a big win for the Raiders in Baltimore. When we come back, the MVP, Rich Gannon, will join us next on Raiders Roundtable. Raiders Roundtable is brought to you by America First Credit Union, the official credit union of the Las Vegas Raiders.
If there's one thing we like, it's choices. Find yours with Ford F-150. Gas, hybrid, or all-electric. Whether it's towing, powering up, or getting from 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds, what you choose to do with that much power is up to you. Tough this smart can only be called F-150.
Just announced. Low 1.9% APR financing for 72 months on a 2023 Ford F-150 or on the all-electric F-150 Lightning.
Hey Raider Nation, when you come to see the Raiders take the field at Allegiant Stadium, you should do it from the best seats in the house. So grab an ice cold Coors Light, and you can enter to win tickets for these Coors Light silver seats at Allegiant Stadium. With plush seating, state-of-the-art beverage coolers, and wireless phone chargers, there's no better place to watch your Raiders bring home the win. Celebrate responsibly.
Dude, you're looking ice cold.
You look ice cold, bro.
Guys, somebody's coming. Somebody's coming.
Let's do it.
There comes a day,
Gonna be a day when I'll be the one
you dream.
It's gonna
It's gonna be me.
Dude, are you crying?
How are you feeling?
I'm good. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
In 300 feet, turn left.
With Cox's fiber-powered internet, you can do brilliant things.
Exit approaching.
Like upload your voice to Dad's GPS in no time flat.
And I miss you, Daddy. Happy birthday.
Get multi-gig download speeds powered by fiber. Upgrade your internet today with Cox, the nation's fastest internet provider. Limited availability in select areas.
Raiders Roundtable is brought to you by Coors Light. Choose chill, an official beer of Raider Nation. Celebrate responsibly. 2024, Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Welcome back, everybody. Each week, former MVP Rich Gannon is kind enough to join us. And Rich, we're going to jump in. This is amazing. What a victory. But this moment with Max Crosby talking to Gardner Minshew, I thought that was a game changer. And what a culture leadership moment for this organization.
JT, such a rare moment in an NFL game. You know, I've been in that situation a number of times, and almost exclusively it's been a situation where it's a defensive player arguing with you, right, or angry with you, and it's just such a rare situation to see a leader like Max Crosby go out of his way to make sure that the quarterback knew that the defense had his back, that the quarterback understood that we're with you, and that, you know, we're going to get this thing back. And I just think that's so refreshing from a quarterback's perspective to know that, hey, look, I can rely on the defense. And that's just what's happened here the last couple of weeks. I mean, the defense has set the tone early, starting with Max Crosby, and, you know, how disruptive he has been off the edge. But I just, when you do something like that, trust me, other players see that, and it has an effect that I think is very positive for this team moving forward. Other players around the league see that in terms of who Max Crosby is, not just a great player, but the great leader of the Raiders.
I tell you what, it was not surprising that Max took that initiative and stepped up. More importantly, though, and what players have to do, because that kind of conversation happens a lot on the sideline, not with defensive players and quarterbacks, because you guys are all too busy to conversate with us during the game, but it does happen a lot. More importantly, though, the impact that he had after that statement. And that what shows you he's one of only a few players, Max Crosby, in the National Football League, who can talk it and walk it. And, man, what an incredible performance that our guy Max had yesterday, right?
You know, yeah, he's so disruptive that it changes your philosophy, I think, as a play caller offensively. I mean, you know, he discourages you from running the football that way. You know, you go out of your way during the week to put a protection plan together to slow him down. I mean, he has the same impact on a game plan that TJ Watt has in Pittsburgh. I mean, he's that type of player. And, you know, it's just, as I was watching the game, even when he doesn't make the play, even when he doesn't get the sack, even when he doesn't make the tackle, he's forcing the back to go the opposite direction. He's forcing the quarterback to step up inside in the pocket where there's other defenders. I mean, he's just he's so much fun to watch. And, I'm getting the sense, and I've been saying this for a while, you guys know it, that if we had 20, 25 players like Max Crosby, we would never lose. I'm starting to see more players play with their hair on fire. I'm on both sides of the ball. You're starting to see Brock Bowers, and Davante's always played that way. But Gardner Minshew, he had a little Baker Mayfield in him yesterday. He refused to give up. He refused to give in. He kept making plays. He kept leading the team in critical situations. I think we're seeing more and more of that. And I think this team has taken on the personality of Max Crosby. Just go out there and play with great passion, great energy, finish every play. And I think that's starting to make a real difference with this football team.
And Rich, another thing with Max not being there, which I thought was important, Max playing that well, there was no Tyree and there was no Malcolm Kuntz. So once Malcolm went on IR and was going to be gone for 4 days, and then Tyree, he gets hurt, everybody's looking around saying, wait a second, we got to elevate practice squad guys to come up and play on the other edge there. You got Christian Wilkins in the interior. A lot of guys played well there, but you would have thought the Ravens would have did a better job. When you look back at the tape of Chip and Max trying to leave a tight end there, and Max was just the ultimate disruptor.
Yeah, I was really worried about that when you look at, not having Kuntz and Wilson. That was a big deal going into the game. And I felt like that would allow the Ravens to spend a little bit more time and a bit more emphasis on trying to take the edge off of Max Crosby. But, it was a great team effort. You look at Spillane, how well he played, 10 tackles in that game, interception. Everybody stood out to me in terms of their intensity, their effort. The corners continue to play well. Safety play has been solid. Look, it's great team defense. And I think when you look at what they did in the first half last week against the Chargers, they ran out of gas a little bit in terms of stopping the run last week in the second half. But, man, to hold the Ravens to 3 field goals in the first half when the offense is really struggling. The offense is trying to find their footing. The offense can't run the football, but to keep them in games. And I just think that, that's what I said coming out of the preseason, that the defense would have to kind of set the tone. The offense has to continue to grow and develop as a cohesive unit. And I think we're starting to see that. I mean, when you look at what lies ahead, Carolina next week, Cleveland the following week, winnable games at home, the fact that the Raiders were able to go on the road and give the Chargers everything they could handle and then go into Baltimore, which is a difficult place to play. And I was mentioning this to you guys before the show. Lamar Jackson, he's the bounce back kid. He was 15-3 after losing his previous start. And Baltimore's always a tough place to play. And the fact, and Eric, you mentioned this before the show as well, the Raiders had 3 penalties in that game. How do you go on the road with all that crowd noise and not have false starts and procedure penalties? And I just thought the poise of this football team, and AP deserves a lot of credit. The poise in the first couple weeks of the season. They're one of the least penalized teams in the NFL. If you can believe that. We're talking about the Raiders here, guys. It's awesome. And I think it speaks volumes about their discipline and their attention to detail. It's been really impressive.
You know what? Let's stay on that topic because you're talking about traveling west to east, which has always been a concern for West Coast teams. I think I've read since 2000, we were the worst, had the worst record going west to east. Antonio Pierce coming off, a game where people were questioning, the not going forward on 4th down and the short yardage situations. He gets his team up, flies out to Baltimore with usually, Baltimore football team like you're talking about that is dominant, particularly in the regular season. Less penalties. They had 11 penalties. We had 3. Some of the coaching decisions, I thought Antonio Pierce did an incredible job. Coach Harbaugh lost his challenges. And then to have Patrick Graham going up against maybe the most, electrifying quarterback that we've ever seen. And he didn't really have that sort of impact other than that final run in the end of the game. I thought Patrick Graham did an amazing job of moving Max around. So you can't just target him. He's going to use stunts up front, to get him inside. He's going to put him on the left side, put him on the right side. I think Patrick Graham deserves a lot of credit in how he built that game plan around Max Crosby and got his football team to play at an extremely high level.
Yeah, Ian, keep in mind the Ravens were coming off of 10 days rest. They played that Thursday night game to kick off the NFL season in Kansas City. And so they had plenty of time to rest and heal up and really focus on putting together a really good game plan. I think the one thing that's been really impressive through the first 2 weeks of the season has been Patrick Graham's third down package. And again, yesterday it was phenomenal. They got off the field on third down. The Ravens converted just 3 of 11 third downs yesterday. To me, that was a big story in the game.
Rich, I'll tell you, one more thing I want to mention here is pressure. Raiders were staring 0-2 in the face, period. Forget Carolina for a second. We'll get to it. No one had the Raiders winning that game on a national level. So I want to talk about how they played under pressure, traveling across the country, team meeting before the game, coming out there in that environment. They hosted the AFC Championship game. We're talking about a team that's expected to go to the Super Bowl in the Baltimore Ravens. You've been in those locker rooms. You're a leader. What's it like when people come out of the tunnel feeling like it's a must-win game or you're 0-2 going into your home opener?
Yeah, there's two types of teams out there, JT, those that feel pressure and those that apply pressure. I just see the Raiders. I think, you talk about some of the characters, right? Some of the leaders on that football team. And we talked to begin this segment about, Max Crosby going over to Gardner Minshew, after that interception and just having a conversation with him and encouraging him and building him up. Hey, Gardner's one of the leaders on offense. I mean, look at that. That just simply doesn't happen very often. But I just think that they've taken on the personality of just playing loose, being aggressive. We're not going to lose football games. They're tired of losing. AP talked about that in the preseason. And I think Gardner Minshew is a different cat. And I say that in a very respectful way. I mean, the poise, the confidence that this guy oozes, I think it rubs off on his teammates. He doesn't get flustered very easily. He continues to go out and just grind and make plays. I thought, you can look at his body of work through the first 2 weeks. I'm really encouraged. I think the numbers yesterday certainly bear that out. 30 of 38 on the road, 276 yards and a touchdown. He's making good decisions. He's putting his team in a position to have a chance to win. He's pushing the ball down the field. He's moving around. He's trying to create and extend and manufacture some offense on his own. So I think it's something certainly to build on as we head into week 3.
All right, let's jump into Davante and Bowers. Wow. Rich, last week you spent a lot of time with us talking about Davante's targets, and the targets went up there. Do you think that was kind of the focus back here in Henderson all week? Let's make sure Davante gets going. And then Bowers, all-time the most receptions by a tight end ever in the history of this league through the first 2 games. Let's spotlight both of them.
Well, we talk about it all the time. In a critical situation, as a play caller, you have to think about players and not plays. So who are my best players, right? I've got Davante Adams. I've got Brock Bowers. Let's find a way to get these guys touches. Let's find a way to get these guys the ball in space. And I thought the Raiders did that a much better job of it in the second half. You look at Davante Adams. I mean, guys, he's such a playmaker. I don't care what they try to do to him defensively. I mean, he just continues to make plays. He's got the size. He's got the length. He's got the athleticism. He's got the ability to make big catches in tight, congested areas. And, of course, he's really good with the ball after the catch. So, that's always been a focal point when you think about Raiders passing games with, great players going back to Cliff and Freddie and Tim and Jerry, and we go on. And Davante's another one of them in the long line of great Raider wide receivers. So you got to get him the ball. They did a great job of that yesterday. But Brock Bowers, guys, I mean, this guy is just a handful. When you go back, I went back this morning. I certainly watched the game yesterday. I went back this morning and watched all the cut-ups of Brock Bowers. And he just got a great feel for the passing game. That one scramble, he's down in the red zone. He's working back to the football. I mean, he just gets it. He understands angles. He understands coverages. He does a great job separating at the top of the stem. And, man, I just – if I'm in that offensive staff meeting room, I'm just like, we got to get this guy more opportunities earlier in games.
Yeah, the young guy was targeted 9 times with 9 receptions. What impressed me most about that, and I mean, you played quarterback at the highest level, MVP, you played with Tim Brown, you played with Jerry Rice. What is the confidence when your receivers, especially a young receiver like Brock, coming back to the ball, making contested catches from Brock's standpoint, and then the display of artistry that we saw from Davante Adams with those 2 incredible teach tape films. What kind of confidence do you have throwing the ball in those kind of tight windows when you have 2 guys who are making great contested catches?
Yeah, you know, from having to cover those players all those years, I mean, when a quarterback has confidence in a receiver that he's going to do the right thing in a critical situation, you're more apt to give him those opportunities, whether it's a 50-50 ball, whether it's a situation in a tight window. Is he going to come up with the ball? If not, is he going to knock it away? And I just think that, reps is all important. It's so important to have reps with players, right? And so, Davante missed some time in the preseason. Brock Bowers missed some practice time. So you can just see that I think Gardner getting more and more comfortable with them. But, that has a lot to do with it. When you look at the interception reel at the end of the year, the interceptions don't usually happen with the quarterback throwing the ball to his number one target, right? Because they have so many reps together. It's usually when you're throwing it to the third receiver, the backup tight end, or you're throwing it late down the middle, you're throwing it to a back on a wide route, you don't get it on the right shoulder. But when you have confidence in that receiver, and the receiver or tight end has confidence that the quarterback's going to put the ball in a position he can make some plays, man, great things happen.
Rich, it looks like there's a little bit of a problem here with the rushing game. I mean, they're not getting a push at the line of scrimmage, and Zeus isn't hitting the hole fast enough. There's just not a lot to work with there. I've been dying to ask you this. I think they got to throw to set up the run. When you can go four wide, and you got Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers, would it be smart for Luke Getsy going forward to get the passing game going and then set up the run where there's just not that much contact there with the linebackers in the box here? How do you see it?
I think there's more to it, JT, and I agree with you in terms of just changing things up. However, I think there's the run game. There's some real concerns for the first 2 weeks of the season. I mean, we just simply can't overlook it. I think you'd be doing yourself a tremendous disservice. When you look at the numbers, I mean, the offensive line's got to play better. I mean, cohesively across the board. I mean, the first play of the game, we give up a sack, 5 sacks in the game. We didn't run the ball. That continues to be a problem. The Raiders had just 27 rushing yards yesterday. They're averaging just 49 yards a game rushing. That's dead last through the first 2 weeks of the season. Dead last. You just simply can't win games when the rushing differential is over 100 yards. It was over 100 yards in week 1 against the Chargers. It was over 100 yards yesterday against the Ravens. That equals time of possession. That equals, short yards, more short yards and goal line opportunities for the opponent. The Raiders have to find a way to get Zamir White and Alexander Mattison going on the ground. And it starts with the offensive line. It starts with the backs hitting the holes. It starts with being more disciplined, with your run game assignments, getting up on the second level. There's been too much penetration early, too many negative runs, and that hasn't helped the Raiders on third down. So to me, that's got to be a point of emphasis. Usually when you make something a point of emphasis in practice over the course of a couple of weeks, you usually get the problem corrected. But, man, just 27 rushing yards in a game like that. I thought the game was going to be decided in terms of the rushing differential. I thought the Raiders couldn't run the ball and the Raiders couldn't stop the run. It would be a tough day for the Raiders. As it turned out, they didn't run the ball and still found a way to win. What a bonus yesterday in Baltimore.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing, to have those stats and still be able to win on the road when your opponent has extra days to rest. Let's stay on that topic of the run. Is it difficult, Rich, when you come into the season, you say, hey, we're going to be this style of running football team. For us, we're going to be a zone, outside zone. So our running back has to, find a hole, either bounce it or bend it. But the running back maybe is better at pin and pull in those situations. So do you look at the running game as a whole in the middle of the season and try and change to a different style? Or do you just kind of find a way to, like JT is talking about, formationally run out of a passing set to hopefully run with a lighter box?
They're all great points. And I just think that sometimes you have to make some changes, right? I think when you have to go back and look at what you did the first 2 weeks, what isn't working? AP's talked about maybe making some personnel changes, whether it's, replacing someone up front or, getting a different back in there in certain situations. I would simply say this. What we typically see through the first couple of weeks of the season are teams that don't run the ball really well. The 49ers are certainly an exception. It's what they major in, right? But there's a lot of reasons for that. We don't put the pads on in the spring. We hardly put the pads on in training camp. The pad level's too high for the offensive line. We don't do a lot of inside running periods. We don't do any live tackling. And so that, I think, makes it a little bit more difficult to come out the gates really running the ball well. But you got to put the pads back on. You got to get the pads on Wednesday, and you got to get the inside running game going, and it's got to be a point of emphasis. You can't just talk about fixing the run game. And the other thing I would simply say is this. When you look at the run game, it's not just the offensive linemen and the running back. It's the quarterback making sure the quarterback's not running the ball into heavy boxes, running the ball into a down safety. It's tight ends participating and doing a better job in the running game. Wide receivers blocking on the edge. That's important. Coming in there and digging out those safeties. So there's a lot that goes into it. I think the Raiders have to do some soul searching, because this is one area of the offense that has to get cleaned up as we head into week 3.
All right, Rich, let's wrap it up with the final 12 minutes of the game. The Raiders' last 3 possessions were incredible. 13 points. So I want your big picture. Was that coaching, execution, what they did in the offseason? They scripted this game, and they came down to where they had to win. They're down 10. They come back and win the game on the road. And I thought that Antonio Pierce flat out out-coached John Harbaugh and his entire staff when it came to timeouts, the challenges on the other side, the poise, as you mentioned. Just a fantastic 12-plus minutes for the Silver and Black.
Yeah, I mean, down 10 on the road in a situation like that, I think it was a collective effort. I think everyone, we talked about Patrick Graham earlier, the job the defense did getting off the field and getting the ball back for the offense, the confidence that Gardner Minshew and the offense had, Davante Adams making big plays, kind of sparking the group, and Brock Bowers and, the younger players stepping up. And I just thought that, AP's messaging, I think, has been important going back to training camp. The guys, this isn't going to be by accident. This is going to be by design. And I just felt like the Ravens kind of pumped the brakes in the fourth quarter. Like, we're the Ravens. We got a lead. We're going to finish this thing out. We're going to run the ball, and we'll head off into the sunset. The Raiders weren't having any of it, and I just think they earned that win. They took that win. They went into Baltimore, and they were the better team yesterday. And to me, that's something you can really hang your hat on. I said right after the game, this was a character type game for the Raiders. I mean, nobody gave them a chance to go into Baltimore and beat the Ravens. And I just think that's something to build on. Now, what we can't have in week 3 is a letdown. It's Carolina. They're not a very good football team. The Raiders need to come in here and treat the Panthers and show the Panthers the respect that they deserve this week in preparation. These are always tough games, but the Raiders have put themselves in a position now, I think, to do something special here the rest of the way.
Well, Rich, I'll tell you, it's great coming off a win. Great to talk to you every week. And I think that point you said at the end is really important. It hits home with me. You got to treat Carolina with respect. It's the home opener. Raider Nation is all fired up coming off a victory, but this is a wounded animal here coming in, and they got a lot of pride, and they're going to try to run the ball. They got an athletic quarterback that was taken number 1 overall, Rich, and they feel like they got nothing to lose. They're due to have a good game because they've been buried in the first 2 games. So I think you're going to see the best of Carolina. I think they're coming out on a business trip, and as you said, the Raiders better be ready to go.
Yeah, don't kid yourself. They've got a good defense. The issues have really been their offense. They can't get out of their own way. Bryce Young has struggled really going back to his rookie year. This was a 2-win team last year. They're 0-2 this year, and they've got a new coach, and they're trying to change. They're trying to rehabilitate this young quarterback, and he learned some bad habits his first year. But, man, I tell you, the boys have to play well up front. He's only 5'10". He can run around and make some plays, but he's not a big quarterback. Even if they don't sack him, I always say the hits, the hurries, and the knockdowns just as important with a smaller quarterback.
Thanks, Rich. We'll talk to you next week. Have a great week.
All right, now, Rich.
You guys are the best.
There he is, Rich Gannon, fantastic. And you take a look at what he's been able to do here. EA, I love his analysis because he wants to win.
All right.
He was a winner, you know this. And you could just tell he's got just some more energy today because he knows it's a long season and the Raiders got a big one.
Yeah, and you know what? When you talk about him, you mentioned Gardner reminds you a lot of.
He does.
They remind each other. They're outside the pocket making plays. In the locker room, they're going to be no nonsense. I'm pretty sure even on Victory Monday, Rich is going to come into the building. So, I'm pretty sure Gardner's going to be in here today. Quarterbacks do it a little bit differently. So, really excited to talk to Rich every Monday. Kind of gives us a great insight in what it's about being a quarterback.
When we come back, we'll get into the scrum. The players were really excited after the game, and you'll see some of that as we continue on Raiders Roundtable.
If there's one thing we like, it's choices. Find yours with Ford F-150. Gas, hybrid, or all electric. Whether it's towing, powering up, or getting from 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds, what you choose to do with that much power is up to you. Tough this smart can only be called F-150.
Just announced. Low 1.9% APR financing for 72 months on a 2023 Ford F-150 or on the all-electric F-150 Lightning.
It's in our very nature to find exhilaration in the new, to seek the excitement of the unexpected, an endless yearning to experience what lies beyond the everyday.
Dude, you are looking ice cold.
You look ice cold, bro. Guys, somebody's coming. Somebody's coming.
Let's do it.
There comes a day
When I'll be the one
you dream.
it's gonna
It's gonna be me.
Dude, are you crying?
Hey Raider Nation, when you come to see the Raiders take the field at Allegiant Stadium, you should do it from the best seats in the house. So grab an ice cold Coors Light, and you can enter to win tickets for these Coors Light silver seats at Allegiant Stadium. With plush seating, state-of-the-art beverage coolers, and wireless phone chargers, there's no better place to watch your Raiders bring home the win. Celebrate responsibly.
You're doing it.
You got this.
Yes, this is great.
Raiders Roundtable is brought to you by America First Credit Union, the official credit union of the Las Vegas Raiders.
That script in the second half. Look like a different team.
Yeah, man. I mean, we came in here and we just got tired of it. I think, I spoke up to the team and a few other guys talked too, but just getting tired of having, these games where we're putting so much pressure on the defense. So just talk to one another. It got not rowdy, but had to speak up a little bit and use some voices just to get guys going, and kind of see in everybody's eyes a switch flipped and look like you said, like a different team. We can't be a team where we just one dimensional and got the defense out there just holding it down every single time. And we got guys that can do that. Number 98 is going to help us out for sure, making it a little bit easier on the other side. But we want to try to take some pressure off them too.
Welcome back to Raiders Roundtable. Davante gave you something there.
Yep.
He spoke up. He said he spoke up. That's a big moment. We knew Max spoke up during the game, and Davante's looking around at the offense saying, hey, we got to carry our weight here.
Yes.
Defense is doing everything. What'd you see with that?
And a couple things that to glean from that is you don't have to be perfect to speak up. Davante dropped 2 balls yesterday, but he came back and he responded well to that adversity and made 2 incredible catches. So to be a leader, you don't have to be perfect. You can make some mistakes, but when it came down to it, he was really just amazing. I mean, just the toe taps on the sideline, the confidence that he continues to play with. He's always the kind of an ambassador, pumping guys up, excited when other guys are making plays. So Davante Adams, one of the true, guys in this league who is probably a Hall of Famer who's playing right now. We have the luxury of having this guy on our football team just continually making plays.
One more thing I wanted to follow up with you when you looked at the tape. Is he getting safeties over the top? A lot of that was beating the corner.
Yeah.
The ball came quickly, and the safety who was there couldn't get over there in time.
Right.
So it didn't look like a pure double team. Davante beat the corner, but the safety had an eye to get over there.
That's a great point, JT. A lot of those plays, he's on the outside part of the football field, so the safety can't really help that cornerback. So that's what they want to do. If he has any route that breaks over the middle, the safety's going to show. He's going to be there. You have a slant, the linebacker's going to show. Any deeper route over than 10 to 18 yards, the safety's going to show and give that cornerback help. But when you're on the outside part of the football field, particularly with the Ravens, who they think have tremendous cornerbacks, they're saying to those cornerbacks, he's on the edge. You have him man to man. So now those instincts that Davante have, just the ability to be able to give late eyes, not show the hands, not give that cornerback any indication that the ball is going to be there. That's just an all-pro making his day. Just amazing plays by Davante Adams. But you are right. He's seeing that double team, but if he's on the outside part of the football field, it's going to be him one-on-one locked up with that cornerback with a team like the Ravens.
Well, Brock Bowers had a big game. Here's Brock in the locker room right after.
Was there a point, maybe there's a conversation on the sideline or somewhere that said, like, all right, let's go, down 10, fourth quarter, like, let's do this?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, the whole offense was feeling a sense of urgency, and we knew we needed to score and score quick and, just get the job done in the fourth quarter.
Brock, you had that catch to help set up Alexander Madison's touchdown run, and kind of a broken play, and make sure we're scrambling around. What does it take to kind of stay focused in those moments and find the spot?
Yeah, I mean, we're just kind of reverting back to our training throughout the whole training camp and offseason and everything. I mean, just knowing that when we're scrambling, you got to get open and find a way to get the job done. So
that was a big deal for him. That was. I'm telling you, you see this kid around here, and everybody just talks about his head's in the playbook. He's in the back of the locker room. He's not talking much. I think he came out of his shell in that game. Not as a player with the stats, which were amazing, but afterwards, he was a leader in that locker room. He has arrived in the NFL.
Yeah, he's probably saying, man, this is pretty nice. Yeah. I'm in a ball game where I'm not being double and triple teamed, because every time at Georgia, you had linebackers, safeties, corners, everyone's guarding Brock Bowers. Now he's had the opportunity to have Davante Adams on the outside, and he could work with a safety. He could work with a linebacker. The one thing that keeps popping off for me is he's making contested catches. I mean, it's not like he's wide open. The big play that he made coming back in the red zone, he came back to the ball. For a young guy to attack the ball like that, very impressive. But more importantly, you have this offense who has an ability to be able to find him in the middle of the football field. Eventually, that's going to help the running game, because the safety linebacker has to be responsible for Brock Bowers if he's going to continue to play like that. I think he's caught 15 balls in the first 2 weeks.
Never been done before.
Never been done before. I mean, this guy has really paid off dividends early this season against a Baltimore Ravens football team defensively, who we all think is going to be there at the end of the season in some kind of playoff push. So he's not just playing scrubs right now. He's playing the best of the best in the National Football League, and Brock Bowers is balling.
I think there's going to be a time this year when Michael Mayer and Jacoby Myers lead the team in receptions in a game, in a random game here. So we're seeing a lot of Brock and Davante. And again, I want to give Luke Getsy a lot of credit. It's not taking time to get Bowers going. I was very critical last year of the coaching staff because they couldn't get Michael Mayer going. He'd have one game, then he'd disappear. One game, disappear. That's not been the case with Brock. They understand that this is a lethal weapon, and they got to get him the ball every game.
Yeah, it's so important for a quarterback in a running game to have that balance of that middle type of receiver, tight end, who can kind of get it going, to make sure that those safeties and those linebackers are not just focused in on stopping the run. I think the two games we've played, the Harbaugh brothers, emphasize stopping the run. So I think that has a little bit to do with why the running game is not popping. But if other teams are going to focus on the run so much and allow our tight end to run free or man-to-man in the secondary, it's going to be problems for teams in the National Football League. And if they don't understand and know how valuable Brock is at this point, they're going to learn. And I think with that 1-2 punch with Brock and Adams, I think these two guys can really set the receiving world on fire here, particularly earlier in the season.
All right, let's move to the defense, where Robert Spillane had a big game.
Yeah.
How slow is the game going for you mentally or physically when you see that ball pop up and you pick it off out of the air?
Yeah, it's like time slows down, and that play in particular was a play we got beat on in Detroit last year. a situational play, so something that was still fresh on my mind and ready to go make it this time. JB did a great job. Ja'Cory and Bennett punching that ball out, knocked up right into my hands, and was able to make a play on it.
Is that the ball?
Yes, sir. Jack Jones saved it for me. I don't know what I did. I threw it up in the air or something. I was like, yeah, celebrating, and Jack Jones was like, Rob, save it, save it.
He just seems to be around the football. He makes plays, and he gave credit to JB, Ja'Cory and Bennett. The ball pops out, he makes a play, and that really switched the momentum. The defense had to make a play, EA, to turn this game around so they could have that great comeback.
Yeah, if you missed it, and I know you didn't, but for the folks out there watching, he talked about preparation. He talked about, hey, I was beaten before on that, going back to last year. So just the preparation. You love that guy, man. You just love his feel. You know, he's walking around with a hat. If you saw him, you know, at Costco or something like that, you wouldn't even think he was a football player. But I love Robert Spillane. He's a gamer. Comes to play, is really a student of the game, kind of understands, you know, there's only a certain handful of things that you can do on each play. So he's recognizing formation, kind of understands the situation, and I think this coaching staff really highlights those situations and makes the players understand that in these certain situations, you have a handful of plays that are going to be successful. Once we recognize those things, we can start to talk about those things, and we can start attacking those areas of the football field that we think those situations are going to arise. So just a really amazing job of being there, being a student of the game, making the play when you need to make the play, encouraging your players. That's exactly what the middle linebacker is supposed to be about. He's the kind of guy who connects the line, the DBs, the nickel. He connects everything. And when you have a guy like Max Crosby playing so well, it's up to you to kind of connect the back end. So he's going to be really involved in communication. And more importantly, I thought that PBU, when that receiver was wide open in the middle of the football field, I thought that was an incredible play also by Robert Spillane.
Well, how about the game of Mad Max Crosby? Let's check him out.
You made a lot of plays throughout the day, but the sack, Baltimore had a chance to take a field goal to potentially go ahead late in the game.
Yeah.
The sack on first down. What did you see on that play and what happened then?
Yeah, you know, that's just chemistry. You know, me and Christian, you know, we've been working all offseason, being on the same page, and he did a great job of penetrating the B gap. And, you know, I just felt him upfield, so I went and took my shot and got home. So I know it was a big play for us, and, you know, it was awesome. So I got to give credit to the whole D-line, you know, doing their job as well.
You're known for the sacks, but you knocked that ball down that they had the kind of the boot with the fullback out in the flat. I mean, what did you do on that play? Did you recognize it just go attack Lamar again?
Yeah. They ran a boot, and I seen it coming, so I just you know, wanted to get my hand in the passing lane. You know, Lamar's such a crafty player. He's all over the place, you know, trying to make as much plays as possible. So for me, like, you know, I knew all week it was going to be a challenge. We talked about we got to hunt. Like, he's, you know, one of the best in the world at what he does. So just credit to all the guys, you know, showing up, you know, down after down, being on the same page and, you know, not giving up.
Max's film preparation, knowing where he could smell the pass or he knows it's a run, and the stunt play was really great because Christian Wilkins had a lot to do going on the outside, taking two with him, and Max came up the middle and made a big play.
Yeah, all that's great, but Max and the chains, that's a real Raider right there. You could take a picture of that and put that in the locker room of the Raiders in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. Max is a true Raider, just great. I wish I had that kind of swag to be dressed like that with the gold chains and everything. Max is awesome, man. Just a great Raider, great for the brand, and I know all the fans love him out there. So once that's out of the way, you talk about the football aspect, and he gave Lamar Jackson a lot of credit, being one of the best to ever do it in the world, and so is Max. And that's, you knew from the moment he stepped on that football field, game one, play one, that's what he was trying to prove. That I know and I respect you, you're one of the best in the world to do it, and I am too. And when you left that football game, there was no doubt in anyone's mind that Max Crosby is one of the best football players in the world. And we're so excited to have him play at that level and understand and appreciate where he is and what he's trying to accomplish. And remember, he was one of the first guys to really endorse Antonio Pierce. He went to bat for Antonio Pierce. I mean, in a big way. And he does not want to let that coach down. He does not want to let the teammates down. And he wants to continue to press that Kobe Mamba mentality in himself. So we're really fortunate to be in a time where we get to see this guy play, and me and you get to, talk to him and rap with him all the time, and he's always on the positive, just an amazing football player, but more importantly, and I know people say this all the time, even better person, but Max is an even better person.
He's a better person off the field than he is as a player.
Yes.
He's just fantastic. So let's take a look around the AFC West, where the Raiders obviously needed this game in a big way.
Yes, we did. We did.
The Chiefs got bailed out on a pass interference.
Oh, my goodness.
Cincinnati had the game. It was over. And it was pass interference, but I thought the Chiefs held on two different occasions on that one play. And then give credit to the Chargers. The Chargers took out Carolina. We play Carolina coming up this week. The Chargers took care of business. It's going to be a good game for them at Pittsburgh.
Yes,
And then we'll see what the Raiders do against Carolina and the Broncos and Bo Nix. We knew that'd be a struggle, and they got to go play Baker Mayfield in Tampa.
And Bake's playing pretty good.
He is
football.
Playing well, but the Chiefs should be 1-1.
Yeah, they should.
And the Chiefs ended up winning that game. And again,
1-1. Yeah.
They should have lost the game to Cincinnati. Cincinnati had the game. It was over. You can't have PI on the last play of the game to set up a game-winning kick, and give Andy Reid and Mahomes credit there. But the Chargers, I thought the Raiders needed to beat the Chargers week one. They didn't. Now the Chargers are setting the tone with their identity, running the ball.
Yeah, they are.
Herbert doesn't have to throw for 200 yards for them to win.
Yeah, it's surprising. You look at those stats and you think Herbert, you think 300 yards passing, 4 or 5 touchdowns, second game in a row, under 200 yards passing, but that running game. And we know, we've seen this from the University of San Diego, Stanford University, to the San Francisco 49ers, to Michigan. He's going to run the football. He's going to attack the line of scrimmage. He's going to find a way to be successful in the running game and use the play-action pass to make things happen. We know what Jim Harbaugh is going to do. You got to find a way to stop him. They did an incredible job the first 2 weeks of kind of playing to our identity and playing some really ground and pound football. Chiefs, of course, 2 games. One, the guy had his toe on the end zone line, so they lose that ball game.
You believe that?
Yeah, no, I can't. You got to wear white shoes as a receiver, and the gloves, and all those things are important. And then this game here, the Cincinnati Bengals played as well, as the Chiefs, but came up a little bit short. But you know what? The Chiefs are going to have their day. They have an amazing quarterback, and Andy Reid. I have so much respect for Andy Reid, but we are in a great place right now at 1-1, looking up to this Carolina football team. And we talked about it. They're going to play hard.
They're going to play really hard.
I think the quarterback is playing for his career, JT. I mean, a young guy who's been in some difficult situations with the line and offensive personnel, but I think he's playing for his career right now, getting a lot of heat because he's the #1 pick, has not shown any flashes of being the kind of player that deserves to be a #1 pick. So he's going to try and come in here and make this football team. He's going to try and force his football team to get in the win.
This is a really big game because Carolina is going to come to play.
Yeah,
As I mentioned, this is a business trip. Rich Gannon said it. This is not a walkover game. For Raider fans to say, hey, it's 2-1 and it's on to Cleveland. No, not so fast. Respect this team. It's an NFL team. We're seeing all these wild upsets, and the Raiders better be ready for Carolina.
Yeah.
I think the Raiders need to start fast. They're coming home to Allegiant Stadium for their first game. The offense was explosive in the final 12 minutes of the game. Let's not take the first half off and wait for adjustments. Jump on Carolina early.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what we emphasize. We talked to Rich early, and he talked about teams that emphasize certain things. You'll see those. It'll be interesting to see, Raider fans, what type of formations we come out with early. Do we come out in 2 tight ends and kind of, bunch it up and trying to run the football, or are we in a spread look, throw the ball early and run late like you suggested early on? That'll be the thing to watch offensively early on. What does our formations look like? And then defensively, we got to stay on top of this quarterback. We got to really do a great job of making sure this quarterback stays in the pocket and has to see over that line because he's a little smaller guy.
Well, thanks for joining us this week. We'll get you ready for Carolina all week long. Raiders will celebrate this victory over Baltimore, but now they're home in Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. And it's time to keep the train rolling. For Eric Allen, I'm JT. Thanks for joining us, as always, this week on Raiders Roundtable.